Welcome to the CEO Project Podcast, where Jim Schlexer, author of the best-selling book, Great CEOs Are Lazy, and the founder of the CEO Project, provides ideas and tools to help CEOs of mid to large-sized companies grow and optimize their businesses. Now, let's get started with the show. Welcome, everybody, to the CEO Project Podcast. My name is Jim Schlexer. I am your host and the founder of the CEO Project. Well, today you get the dream team. You get Sharon and I. Hey, Sharon.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome to the podcast. We didn't have a guest today, which is fine. You know, we change it up sometimes. And today we're going to talk about quite a critical topic that I deal with all the time with CEOs and boards. And actually, just rolling back to the board thing for a second, there's really only three things that a board is responsible for. One is strategy, and not to create it, but to just pressure test it, make sure that the team is not missed something, help their thinking. Risk management. Let's make sure we're not driving the bus off the cliff. You know, let's make something really stupid that could damage the company badly. And then the third is talent. Make sure we have a flow of talent that allows us to operate the company today, tomorrow, and next year. And so therefore, because it's a board level issue, whether you've got a board or not, as an executive team, you should be spending time on talent planning, talent management, talent succession. So we're going to dig into that topic today. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Great.
I'm all about the people.
Exactly. I know you are. So we've talked before about A players and B players and C players. So A are people that overperform significantly. B's perform to the requirements of the job and do a great job, show up every day of the week. We need B's. And C's are people that are underperforming. But what I want to recommend, and quality companies that are really thinking about their talent do this on a regular basis. I'm going to say, yearly, maybe a little bit more, but yearly, a formal process where they'll do the things that we're going to talk about today. And the first is an analysis of their talent. You know, what have we got? It's really an inventory of our talent. Now, you don't need to do everybody in the company. I'm going to say, I don't know, top 10, 20%, depends on how big the company is. So company of 100, you might be keeping your eye on 20 people. Company of 1,000, it might be 200 people. So the way to do
Is there a tool? Is there a tool to keep your eye on these top 20%?
Funny you
Top
ask
10%.
that. Funny you ask that. I didn't
I'm
give you
here for a reason.
I know, right? I didn't give you the script, but yes, there is a tool. What a great question, Sharon. And the tool we like and a lot of people like is borrowed from GE ages ago. They had what's called a 9-box analysis. So, you know, you'd have everybody on your executive team identify their high performers, but also as a CEO, I think one of our jobs is to know who the top performers in our business are
Yeah.
and to spend some time with them, give them a little bit of face time, maybe go to lunch with them, pop into their office, jump on a Zoom call for 30 minutes. How's it going? And I don't care where they are in the organization, 1 level, 2 level, 3 levels deep. I used to, last company I ran, I knew where all my high players were, and I didn't care who they worked for. I would go just pop in and say hi to them and spend some time with them. I was not trying to be their boss. I'm not like micromanaging them. I just wanted to get a feeling for them, you know, understand where they're at, make sure that I'm assessing them the way their leader is. So I knew who was in the organization that were critical to us. So the 9-box analysis, and this is done, you know, generally your manager would do this first, and then we'll talk about a process for sort of normalizing it. It's a 9-box grid, so simple. On one axis is performance, let's say across the bottom. And then the vertical axis would be potential. So low, medium, high, both sides. So we're looking at who has high potential, medium potential, low potential, and who at the moment in the current job is performing low, medium, high. So let's take like the easy boxes, right? And what you do is you grid somebody, put a little dot, you know, Jim is here on this grid. He's performing really well in his current job, and when we look at him, he has potential to do more. So potential is about promotability. meaning does this person have the ability to be promoted one or maybe even two levels based on what we see so far? Now, maybe, who knows, some junior engineer might end up running the company one day, but at the second we go, they're definitely an engineer and they might even be an engineering manager. So they got kind of two levels in them that we can see today. As they grow, they may have an ability to do, director, VP, maybe CEO over time. But
Hmm.
promotability is what we're looking at. Um, and generally, performance and promotability go together a little bit, but not perfectly. So let's, like I said, start with the easy box. And then you could really think low, medium, and high performance would be A, B's, and C players, right?
Right.
A's high, B's medium, and C's low. And so you probably already have that in your mind, but this is a little more complexity because we are thinking about where do we want to spend our time on our talent to make sure A, they don't leave, because some of these people are our future, and who do
Right.
we want to invest in? So if somebody says, I want to go to some fancy MBA school that's expensive, and they're a low performer with low potential, we would
Mm,
probably be not as excited to spend the money on that person. If somebody's a
right.
high
Right.
performer with high potential, we'd go, what can you get into? We're happy to pay, right? So easy box, high, well, let me start with the real easy box. Low potential, low performer. What do we do with
What do we
those?
do with those people? What do we do with those people?
Oh, it's a mystery. I think we to use the euphemism, we release their services to other companies, most likely, because there's not the potential. They're just not showing the oomph. They're not showing the want,
Right.
and they don't do
Right.
well in their current job. Now, maybe we could move them to another job where they could perform at a higher level, but we got to see.
Right.
But the potential is a real issue. If somebody doesn't have potential, you go, I've got to be careful about investing too much in that person. But I might say, hey, you're in the wrong job. Let's move you to another job and see if you can.
But that
You're in
that gets a
you're in
little tricky,
recovery.
Jim.
You're in recovery mode with these people, right?
Right. That gets a little tricky because yes, you can say let's release them to find their more successful path,
Mm-hmm.
but many companies have restrictions around releasing people or protocol around releasing people.
Oh yeah, I mean, no, absolutely. You have to follow the protocol,
Right.
100%.
And
Give
that
them.
takes time. That could be 6 months. That could be, and like you said, maybe the first step is move them into a different line of business or a different role to see if we have success there, and then go from there.
Always. I always want to try to save the person if I can. In
Yeah.
other words, can I find a job that you can do here that's great for you and great for us? Maybe I can, maybe I can't. And that's
Right.
the skill and will conversation. Do you have the skill to do the job? And do you have the will, the want to do that particular job? And sometimes low potential is just, I don't really like doing this job very much.
Right.
I hate
Exactly.
accounting. My dad made me become an accountant and I hate accounting. Well, I'm like, okay, well then let's figure out another job for you because that ain't it.
Right.
But yeah, then you'd have to give them the warning and then the written warning and then the formal PIP and then you have to do all the stuff clearly.
Correct. Correct.
I'm trying to remember the number. I saw it recently. If people are exited a company sort of humanely and with respect, the rate at which they come back and sue the company is like 1%. It's not zero. You'd think it would be zero.
Hmm.
It's not.
Yeah.
But if they are exited sort of unceremoniously and without respect,
Right.
it's like 17% come back and sue the company. So,
Yeah.
look, just risk management, and it's the right thing to do. You want to treat people properly, which
Right.
I've
Exactly.
always advocated. I don't think I've ever been accused of firing somebody too quickly. I've always really taken my time to do that.
Right.
And by the time we get there, we're like, okay,
It's a mutual.
yeah, are we ready to declare the patient dead here? Because I kind of think we're done, right? Let's move on. Um, so that's an easy one. Top right is easy, but you got to do some things. So high potential, high performer. So they're fully competent in their job and they've got potential to do a lot more, like at least
Mm,
one, maybe two more levels. You've got to be really careful in this spot because this is when you lose people.
right.
High
They're
performers get,
attractive to everyone.
well, and they're bored. I figured it out. I'm really good at it. Yawn. Like that's not interesting for a high performer. They want to be right on that edge, learning new stuff, changing it up. Like they want to do interesting work. And if they're like fully competent and they've got potential, they're like, listen, you better give me something new or I'll go find it on my own.
Easily.
Right? The A players can always find a job, always. So here's where we have to work development. And I would say if you have somebody in that upper right hand quadrant, the next conversation should be, what are we doing to develop that person? What are we doing to move them into another job? And you should be seeking a job for them. Like, let's find a place that stretches this person. Now, there's ways of doing it without a promotion. Promotion is definitely on the table. But to broaden somebody, improve them, you can give them depth. So, more of the same, right? You're running one engineering team. Now you're running two engineering teams. And I
Hmm.
just made it way more complicated. There's just a lot more moving parts. I could give you breadth, go sideways. You were doing design engineering on this product line. Now you're doing design engineering and manufacturing engineering, both, and supply chain. I'll give you all three. So they're like, ooh, back on the learning curve, which is what high performers want.
Right. I'm adding to my skill set.
They love it, right? Not bored. And then the other would be cross-functional opportunities. So, hey, we're forming a team to look at supply chain costs. We're going to have finance and marketing and supply chain people and manufacturing people. And we want you, Mr. or Mrs. Engineer, to run that project for us. So all of a sudden, they're looking at numbers, they're looking at marketing, they're looking at suppliers, they're looking at quality, broadens them way the heck out of their current role and keeps them challenged. So all of those
Mhm.
are ways if somebody's in that upper right-hand box and you don't have a job to promote them to quite yet, these are ways to keep them engaged and learning so you don't lose them. And let me assure you, this is when you lose them. The other one, and depends on level, is you could give them an outside challenge. Like a lot of companies I've worked with are involved in some nonprofits, Junior Achievement, so forth, Habitat for Humanity, United Way, and they go, hey, listen, we want you to be our board representative on this outside board. Good way to grow somebody, grow their network,
Yeah.
get them exposed to how do boards think and what are concerned with, particularly if they're relatively junior. I don't think you can do it with a newbie, but like a mid-level person or a senior level person,
Okay.
that's a good developmental opportunity. Um, so what you get somebody who is now let's move down into the quadrants. They're a medium performer and with medium potential. I'd say just let them do their thing, right? Learn, get better. I'm watching for you to move into high competency with moderate potential because I probably need to do some of the things I would do with a high potential, high performer to keep you. I have to give you a little more to get you back into medium performance. So think about it. When somebody moves to high performance, we throw a bunch of more stuff on them. They move back to medium performance.
Okay.
So sometimes you'll have somebody who we love, but we just promoted her. So she's just at medium level potential, even or sorry, performance, because we just gave her a big new job. And so she's just sort of
Exactly.
figuring it out, right? So it's not
Back
like,
on the learning curve.
and eventually she'll move high performance and back up to high potential. And then we got to do something else to bop her down the curve a little bit. Um, High potential, low performance. What do you think we do with those people? They got a lot of potential, like smart, they get it, they're just not clicking it in on the performance.
I'm not sure. I think you got to figure out what makes them tick in order for them to click in and use their potential or
Yeah.
showcase their potential.
Yeah, I think we work with those people. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's figure out how to get you up into the what we know you can do. You got all the chops,
Exactly.
you got all the smarts, you got everything you need. It's just not happening. I like people like that because if you to your point, I figure out what unlocks them,
Yep.
boom, they go right up into nice high performance and everybody's
Exactly.
happy. So
The
I'd say we
sprint is on. The sprint is on once you can
well,
click it.
at least a good trot. Let's maybe a sprint. And then medium potential, medium and low performance, we work with them, but same thing like our low performers. We need to start seeing things move, or eventually the fuse will burn out and we're going to have to change our relationship with them. How about low potential but medium performance? They love their job, they're good at it, but they ain't going anywhere. They don't really want to go anywhere.
I think we love those people too.
I agree. I used to not think that. I used to think like, not everybody's got to run the world. Everybody's got to
No,
ambition and because I had enough for three people, and it's not true. Like,
no,
show up, do the job, be really happy making my money, go home, take care of my kids, do whatever, do Boy Scouts, coach soccer, and love my life. Love those. They're not going anywhere. Like,
they're not going anywhere. And they may be your most loyal employees.
yes, yes. Give me regular raises, treat me right,
Right.
love life.
Let me take my vacation. Don't call me on vacation.
That, yeah, exactly. Lose my phone number. How about low potential high performer? They don't really, they're not going anywhere, but they're great at their job.
I'm confused about those people.
I am too, but I say we let them be. I'll give you an example. I had a guy that worked for me, Napoleon, one of the best engineers I ever had working for me, and I had gotten rid of my engineering manager, and I'm like, you're my senior engineer, you're my guy. Do you want to be engineering manager? And Napoleon goes, what did I do wrong that you would do that to me? He, he had zero interest in being a manager. He just wanted to
Yeah,
do technical stuff. He was great at it. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to throw money at you and love bomb you and give you cool projects. He goes, perfect answer. That's all I want in life. So
I think that
high
it was
performance, low potential. He wasn't going anywhere, but that's okay.
right. I think that was a unique situation because not everybody would be so transparent about that. Many people would be like, yes, I have to try, I have to try, and then maybe fail. And then that is a negative road there. So, I mean,
Yeah.
to realize that you do not want those managerial roles is a great insight in someone. And like you
Yeah.
said, they're honest, open, they're doing their job great. Let's just let them keep doing their jobs.
Right. And I think he had a tremendous amount of self-awareness to say no to the job.
Exactly. Not
Most,
everybody would do that.
particularly if they kind of have image motivations, like a lot of salespeople who are great salespeople, but they really should never be a manager. Like, just don't let that person manage. But when the job comes up, they're like, "Hey, how about me? How about me? I'm in," because they want to be seen as being successful.
Right.
Frankly, they'd probably make less money than being a great salesperson. But
Sure.
so I think with high performance, low potential, you show them opportunities if they want them.
Mm.
But like you're always in consideration. I know probably they don't want to do it, but I want to make sure they know you love them, you appreciate them, you give them money, you show them opportunities, not at the rate of the high potential high performers, but little things to show that like you're on the team. We love you. If the
Right.
minute you say you want to do a bit more, we're interested in you doing a bit more.
Okay.
So that's the grid. You can imagine dropping a person on that grid. But then what you do is everybody brings the people that work for them. And you as a leader should probably be doing the same for your executive team. Where do they sit? You drop them onto the grid. And then you build a plan for each of the people based on where they are in the boxes, kind of like the conversation we just had. But you'd literally, okay, Sally's high performance, high potential. She's been running data analytics for 2 years now. She's doing amazing. What are we going to do to stretch this woman out? What's her next job? How do we use her? Now, the reason why you do it as a team is because what we call a central tendency problem.
Mm.
There was a show on NPR for a while called Lake Wobegon. You remember this
Mm.
show? They said everybody's
Yeah.
everybody's above average. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a problem.
There are managers that think everybody's above average, and we're like, probably not. Somebody's average, somebody's below average. Just it's the way it works. So what you get, and this shows up when raises. This is important because when raises happen, people that push their people to they're all 5 out of 5 and they try to get big
Yeah.
raises for their team and somebody who's more rational and they have kind of a normalized distribution, their people don't get the bigger raises because they didn't arbitrarily push them all to fives. So when you
Right.
do it as a team, the team goes, hey, wait a minute, you got Sharon rated as a 5. I would struggle to rate her a 3.
Mm.
And now we have a conversation. You got to have a real conversation. There are multiple views on that person's
Right.
capability. And now we kind of normalize everybody's rating on the 9 box and on the ABC grading. This helps when we come to raise time because we've got the right number of A's, the right number of B's, the right number of C's, more or less. And so we can allocate raises in the right way as well. So you do it as a team. Now, here's the thing. The rule here is the company owns the talent. And this is an issue that a lot of leaders make, particularly executives. They go, I've got a great team assembled. My life is great. They're killing it. And, I just fight for big raises. That's all I have to do. And I keep them happy. But as an organization, if you've got a pile of talent sitting in one area and we need the talent in another area, we've got to move the talent. And
Yeah,
and we go, hey, Sharon, I know you got a great team, but we're going to take two of your top performers and we're going to move them over here, and you're going to just have to figure it out. And you go, ugh, well, that stinks. And you go, it's for the greater good. It's for the benefit of the
right.
company. And people resist that because they go, like, you're going to make my life horrible. I know that.
Right. And it's their own little fiefdom. They want to just keep running what they're running with the people that they're running and not necessarily share.
And the question is, are you here to help the company or are you here to help yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, well, the company. Well, then you got to cough up the people. And that's part of why the whole team has visibility on all of the top level performers. Because, maybe I'm starting a new project in marketing and go, that woman you got working for you? She's phenomenal. I think she'd be great for this role I've got. I'd like to pull her over and use her for this new initiative we've got. And everybody goes, yeah, it sounds great because we love her. She's fabulous, but she's ready for something new. And you're like,
Mm,
don't take my person. But,
right.
that's what happens. So company owns the talent, and that's why we're transparent about the talent. That's why we rate and sort of normalize across the whole company, so nobody's like jacking their people up into the right to get them great
Yeah.
raises and screw everybody else. And for this talent management, we want to know where they are and who's man marking them and who's spending time with them. Yeah. And that includes, like, let's say you've got somebody working for you and the CEO shows up and says, "Hey, I'm just gonna go have lunch with Sally. Just spend some time with her. Give her a little love. Make sure she knows I'm paying attention to her. Talk to her about her career.
Mhm.
Give her a little mentorship. And I'm not undercutting you when I do that." And
Mm,
a lot of managers are like, "Can I come to the lunch? I want to hear every word
right.
that's said."
Right.
Right?
Or I have recently heard someone said to me that the manager went back to that individual and said, "Oh, I can't wait to hear what you talked about at lunch."
The man, oh, goes to the person who went to lunch.
Yeah.
Oh, because they wanted the readout from the CEO.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
interesting. Well, they were
Yep.
freaked out that they were going to say something.
Or, they're freaked out. They're going to lose their talent. So
Yeah, but
as a
they might.
manager, like you're saying, you have to be open to it and share the talent. And in my opinion, it just shows that you're a good manager if you're developing this, person in a way that is catching people's eyes. But
Absolutely. I was on the board of one company, and it turns out the CFO, a guy named Bart, was the best talent developer of anybody in the company. He had people that everybody wanted to have working for them. And over the course of 5, 6, 7 years, every significant leadership position had been taken by somebody who used to work for Bart.
mm,
It was crazy. Like, he was an insane talent developer. And you wouldn't necessarily think like a CFO is that, but he was
right,
great at it. And really, literally, ops used to work for him. HR used to work for him. Name it, marketing analytics, all used to work for him. I mean, it was crazy how much talent that guy had generated in the company over years. And he was known for it. And you'd think he'd be like, oh, woe is me, I'm losing all my good people. No, he reveled in the idea that my people are going everywhere and doing great deeds and helping the
right.
company. And then he just let me grow some more new ones. Right?
Jim, you just mentioned HR.
Yeah.
And we're talking a lot about this 9 box and managers and senior executive team. All these discussions are not made, or there's an HR representative in each of those discussions, or should be. There should be an HR representative. So, how do you work? I love this notion of the 9 box. I love the
Yep.
manager. I love the senior management. I love the associate level working with this. But where does HR fall
Yeah. And HR
in this
runs
exercise?
HR runs the process. HR, they may have a view, but they're really like, okay, we're going to do 9 box. Okay, Sharon can do the 9 box on these four people.
So they're just the facilitators.
They are managing process. They own the process, and we're participating in it as a team,
Okay.
but they're the ones that make sure we do it properly, make sure that we're fair. And once in a while, they're kind of a third party observer. They can call BS. They go, hey, wait a minute. You're rating this person an A and they're not an A. We've had multiple interactions in HR. We've had complaints by people that work for him or her. There's a skunk in the woodpile here that you need to know about, and there may be some, so don't rate them an A. They're probably a B. So they're in the conversation 100%, but they don't have the hands-on
Yeah.
working with the way the leaders do. And so they can't own the whole process, but they do run the process for the benefit of the organization. And by the way, this will be a document you could show to your board. When you have the talent conversation with the board, you go, here's my 9 box, here's my executive team on the 9 box, and here are my 20 high potential people that will run the company 5 and 10 years from now. Here's where they sit, and here's what we're doing to develop them. That's a great board conversation. The next level, though, is what we call a depth chart. So you can, let me roll back 1 second, just raises for a second. I wrote an article a while ago called C's Get Zero. So the way this works, you have A's, B's, and C's. Let's say you have 20% A's, 60% B's, 20% C's, or 10% C's, something like that. Let's say average raises are 4%. Yeah. You give 4% to the B's. Yeah. You give 8% to the A's and you give zero to the C's. And people go, oh my God, but they might leave. I go, yeah, well, they're C's. So if they leave, that
Yeah.
isn't the worst thing in the world. And it sends an incredibly clear message. What people don't want, what people do is they go, well, I'll give her a 2.89% and she'll be okay and not mad. And you're just not giving the real message. You're sugarcoating the message that you're not performing the way we need you to perform. So give them a
Yeah.
zero. And the zero for the C's funds the double for the
Right.
A. That's the model. So you don't spend more money on raises than you need to. Anyway, so let's go to the depth chart. So think about your org chart. Let's say just senior team for the second, but you should go at least one layer below them. Senior team all across with titles. And then you want to rate them RN, ready now for promotion. Ready one, they're at least a year out. Ready two, they're at least 2 years out. Ready three, they're at least three or three plus, which means basically maybe never, right? That's a long ways off. And the reason why you want that is you go, if you as a leader don't look the right way and a bus hits you, who's going to take over? You've exposed, this is generally for the board if you're showing your executive
Right.
team, right? And at least for your own thinking, who should you call first if I get hit by a bus? If there's somebody RN ready now to take over for me in a pinch at least, that's a person you should call. They're going to take over and run the company. Maybe you keep them, maybe you find a successor later, but that's the person. But then every one of your execs should do the same thing for their teams. So the CFO gets hit by a bus or something horrible happens or they leave, who's positioned to take over?
Hmm.
Bad managers don't want anybody at ready now. And you'll observe it. Yeah, because they go, well, that threatens my job, right?
Right. The ego is shot then.
And well, they're not as good as me. They can't possibly be
No,
ready now. Well, So
they'll
you
never be ready.
so it's an interesting exercise to like, are you somebody who's developing talent and encouraging your talent to grow, or are you afraid that your talent's going to take over for you and you're kind of suppressing them? But you do want to understand this and to have a conversation, not the exec team who's going to replace me as CEO, but who at the VP level, let's say, is going to replace my CXO level person. That's an entire executive team conversation. Because it
Yeah.
could be that you go, we've got somebody over in finance who actually has a marketing degree, but they're in finance. If the marketing lead went away, that might be the successor. It might be in another department. Or a
Interesting.
salesperson could move into marketing, or an engineer could move over to marketing, or whatever. So you want to actually have that succession conversation as a team as well. So you know where and they should probably on the 9 box be high potential, either high
Of course.
performance or medium performance, probably as well. And so
Yeah.
those two documents kind of work together. Another great document to present your board if you got a board.
What do you do as a CEO if someone on maybe not on your exec team, but at the senior level management is not open to that idea? like no one can do this job like I can do. I try to keep developing talent. Nobody's, going to be able to access the skills to be able to do it. How, as a CEO, do you then coach that person and say, hey, wait a minute,
Yep.
Callan, that's not in the best interest of our company.
Yep. Well, the first line is the graveyards are full of indispensable people. You're gonna go eventually. You like this is taxes and death. Like we're not getting away from this thing. So
Yeah. But
you
there are people that do feel like they're indispensable. And,
100%. But here's what I do to them. This behavior ensures you will never get a promotion, ensures you'll never get another job in this company. You're stuck.
yeah,
And worse than that, so there's another issue when you, as a leader, when you look at your exec team, it is occasionally okay to have somebody in a leadership position that isn't going anywhere. Like they're been there 20 years, they do it in their sleep. They're not going anywhere. They don't have ambitions to go anywhere, but they're really, really, really good at their job. And that's cool.
yeah,
The your leadership positions are developmental positions for somebody to replace you and to take on more scope. So you can't have too many of the slots blocked like that. So it's okay to
interesting.
have one or two or three, maybe out of seven, but you have to have some people that are growing, growing, growing to either take your job or to take other responsibilities. Because your person you described, it's like, I'm good. I'm not going anywhere. I've been here 20 years. I'm going to retire here. Fine. But if you had seven of those out of seven slots, your company won't grow anymore. And you got
Yeah,
nobody
no
to
one's
land
bubbling
work
up.
on, and there's nobody to replace you. So that's a real issue. So I would say I can live with some of that, but not too many of them. So that's my
Okay,
answer, my more refined answer. I'd love to see everybody super ambitious and growing themselves,
right,
and but it's just not the case. And so, fine, you're the CFO, and you're going to be the CFO for a long until maybe we outgrow you someday, maybe. But you're blocking a developmental spot, and at some point that may become a problem. And I've actually moved people out of senior roles because they were blocking development of junior people. And
right,
I
right.
needed
Because
to
the people
develop.
below them are looking and saying, I got nowhere to go. I can't move up. I'm at my peak here. I got to leave the company.
That's what happens.
Yeah,
If you're working for that individual you described and you're really performing high at a high level and you're killing it and you're not seeing yourself getting moved around and helped, you're like, I've only got one way to get my next job. It's to leave.
right. And I mean, more money to those people isn't really going to be the trigger to keep them to stay.
It helps a little teeny bit, but not.
Yeah,
And
but I would say like 2 years, 3 years max. Like after that, they're still looking at what's my next position.
absolutely, because they want interesting work. They want to develop themselves. Money is just, and here's what's different. People think money is the reward. For people like this, do the work, the money comes. I don't actually worry
Exactly.
so much about the money. The money always works out if I do great work. And so,
Right.
anyway, on that note, I think we went. This was a good topic. We went at it pretty good, I think. Hopefully, you all
Yeah.
picked up something new or a couple of ideas. Thanks, Sharon, for having some fun.
Oh, yeah. Always a pleasure. Always
Yeah,
a pleasure.
it is. And next time, we'll see you next time on the CEO Project Podcast. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening to the CEO Project Podcast. We'll see you next time. Be sure to subscribe to get all the future episodes and check out our website, www.theceoproject.com.